No problem. I've still got plan C. Ladies and gentlemen.
Colin C podcast. What's going on, people? Happy Monday evening, or Tuesday, or Wednesday, or Thursday, whenever you're listening to this. Hope you're having a delightful time. This is our Week 8 NFL sort of breakdown. We were actually pretty comprehensive with this one. Covered most, if not all, of the games. So, hype. And yeah, didn't get into like the nitty gritty of it, but certainly covered a lot of ground here. Make sure you are liking, sharing, subscribing. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Breaker, Anchor, Google Podcasts, so many more. Check us out. Make sure you check out previous episodes too. I know there's a lot of NFL content out there right now, but there's some more good stuff coming down the tube. Hope you are looking forward to that. I sure am. Looking forward to recording that. Hope you're having a great time so far. Hope you enjoy this episode. And yeah, make sure you're liking and all that. I know I said that already. This episode was a little different because we made sure to take a little bit of a break in between each segment. So you'll notice that we actually have breaks. So that's good. Good job us. Way to format. I think this is episode 90 or episode 89. Either way, we're getting up there. I don't know if I ever really thought that I would, be continuing doing this for this long. But hey, I like it, and it's a good outlet, right? I guess. And you know what? People actually listen, so hey, appreciate you. Anyway, I'm rambling. We got a podcast for you. Enjoy it. We're back. Welcome back to Week 8 NFL Plan C coverage. Before we get started, we just have a quick little moment. Over the weekend, my New Orleans Saints beat AJ's Indianapolis Colts, and as a part of a little side bet we had, AJ, I will give the floor to you.
Yeah, of course. So this was my idea, so it's a little unfortunate that it had to come down to this, but no, I just wanted to put out I guess an apology. The Saints came out. They won pretty decisively. I know you said that game was pretty close. You said Gardner shredded. I didn't see it like that. Just wanted to come out and sing your praises, man. Give out a formal apology. I think I was a little cockier. Very subtle cockiness going into the game. I think I mentioned probably on the podcast and directly to you that we had 3 very winnable games coming up.
Oh, no, I filed that away. Don't worry.
I mentioned that the Saints defense didn't scare me as much as they should have. Before the season started, I shat on I said outside of Chris Olave and maybe Michael Thomas, the Saints have no receivers or Derek Carr doesn't have any threats. And it was neither of those 2 receivers that shredded the Colts secondary. It was Rashid Shaheed. So ate my words on that. So just want to put out a formal apology, man. Everything I said about the Saints, about this game in particular, came back to bite me in the ass. The Saints were superior. Hats off to you, man. Congratulations. I will be Venmoing you my dollar that we also bet.
No, I appreciate it, and I mean, I genuinely I genuinely mean that Gardner was scaring me, because sometimes the Saints defense just I don't know. It was after the long touchdown, I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Oh my God, it's happening. Anyway,
I don't want to harp too much on that game because we talk quite a bit about them constantly, but That's the thing with Gardner. He looks good from time to time, but he's had a lot of turnovers the last couple weeks, and it's scary. I think still the consistent lack of a third receiver on this team outside of Michael Pittman and Josh Downs is definitely hurting the Colts. The game plan going into the second half was pretty atrocious. Leaving Tony Brown on Rashid Shaheed, dude got cooked. Seven catches allowed on 7 targets, over 150. Most of those going to Rashid Shaheed. It was just a rookie head coach. I think you saw some things that were thrown at him. So, hey, hats off to you. Like I said, I think that should give a lot of confidence to Saints fans from an outsider perspective. I don't know how you're feeling about it.
You know the meme where it's like, it's over, we are so back, it's over, we are so back. That was kind of the first half for me because we went down, like, I think it was 14-7 or something like that, and I was like, fuck, like it's happening again. And then Carr missed Michael Thomas on a couple slants. Well, not missed him, but like kind of threw it behind him. And the point of a slant is you kind of throw it in fucking front of him. But
Especially with the slang god, man.
there were definitely a couple moments where I was like, oh God, like the Saints are just doing it again. Anyway, let's move on to our topic of the week. Topic of the week, I guess our A block, if you will. Fucking Tyreek Hill versus AJ Brown. Right now,
Yeah.
two of the best wide receivers out there. I think because Tyreek has been doing it for longer, people place him higher, which, hey, I respect. And I would probably do the same just because of that speed. But both of them have gotten off to absolutely scorching starts to the season. What's been your take? Yeah.
Well, the reason I wanted to throw this topic out there, because I was watching Tyreek Hill play. Right, he had over 1,000 yards. He had another touchdown, another phenomenal game. And I was like, damn, you know what? This guy is already 1,000 yards. We're 8 weeks into the season. This has got to be one of the greatest starts to a season ever. Like, if he continues to play at this for this speed for the rest of the season, it'll be the best season we've ever seen.
He'll get MVP votes, if not win MVP.
Tyreek is having the best. Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't know if Cooper didn't get it a couple years ago as Triple Crown. I don't know. That's different topic. That's just a
Different
quarterback
yeah,
award. But
yeah.
My thing was, damn, he's having the best season ever as a receiver. We should talk about it. Meanwhile, on a different game at the exact same time slate, AJ Brown put up another 125 yards, then in 6 straight, made history doing that. I'm like, damn, that dude's also, you could make an argument for having one of the best starts ever. So yeah, I mean, they're both popping off. It's been ridiculous numbers so far throughout the season.
And, I think with both of them, you really see the product of having a good quarterback. Obviously,
Mind you, those are both quarterbacks that people, I don't mean to cut you off, but those are both two quarterbacks that people wanted to write off very early on, too. I didn't think that they did not believe in either of those quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I think
they're appreciate.
They're two guys who, if people want to say something not nice about them, you can always, system quarterback, this, that, and the third. But I think it's definitely beyond that now because we've seen Tyreek in a couple different systems now, and he hasn't really had to play with a bad quarterback. But AJ Brown, I mean, Ryan Tannehill is Ryan Tannehill, but man, it's incredible the things that they're able to do. And, there's a lot of layers to this. I think it's sort of like a microcosm for football itself, where there has to be a lot of good pieces around, where it's like, good play calling and a good quarterback, and, there's a really good number two, so you can't necessarily completely zero in on Tyreek or something like that. It's cool because it's two players that it's two players that do it in a completely different way. You know, you have Tyreek, who, I mean, it's insane watching Tyreek just be open consistently. It's like, oh, Tua's like throwing it really far, and wait, he underthrew Tyreek still? Like, what the fuck? Tyreek was open by 10 yards. You know, it's just it's really ridiculous. It's like somebody took sliders in Madden and just like turned it all the way up.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like these guys have very similar career paths, I guess, over the last like 2-3 years. Right, they were both traded away from their teams where they were already established number ones for first round picks. Both paired with those Bama quarterbacks. Both have secondary, like two of the best wide receiver twos are both Bama guys. But yeah, totally different players. But man, it's just I don't understand. Maybe like what I just mentioned, both some of the have arguably the best wide receiver two in the NFL, right? Devontae Smith versus Jalen Waddle, throwing T Higgins in there, right? But different
oh
different
god, the
topic.
Bengals.
But
Anyway.
maybe that's just part of it why these guys are just so open all the time, because you do have that second guy taking so much other coverages away from them. But I just week in and week out, man, these guys are just putting up ridiculous numbers. And I mean, where we're at halfway through the season is pretty impressive.
And you know, there's a part of you that's like, oh my god, like how long can this go? And they do it every single week. You know, as somebody who is I have AJ Brown on multiple fantasy teams. It's delightful, and I'm kind of thinking, you know, when is the other shoe going to drop? When is the other shoe going to drop? But we haven't gotten there yet, and it's been delightful. Yeah, and
I'm right
like
there with you, man.
AJ Brown, just like just the catches he's making, it's fucking insane. Like I don't know if you saw his touchdown catch yesterday, or one of them.
I did. It's the photograph used for this thumbnail.
He's
Amazing.
I don't even like, the body coordination is just insane. And to be doing that at his size and at his speed, it's really it's insane. It's insane. He moves so damn quickly. It's insane. He's what
He's so
what
so
he's
strong, making
he's
those
6'1",
catches.
6'2", right? Just like big body, and man, this makes me look back and be like, Tennessee Titans, the fuck were you doing?
He has more receiving yard. Well, actually, before this week, I don't know after this week, but before this week, he had more receiving yards than the entire receiving core of the Tennessee Titans. DeAndre Hopkins had a great week, so I don't know if that stat still stands, but comparably, they got Traylon Burks for AJ Brown, right?
Yeah.
And there's still time. Traylon Burks might pull
Hold on,
together,
let me look
but
up Traylon
man,
Brooks's stats this season. Please continue while I look this up.
no, it's just it's pretty poor. I mean, that'd be after seeing Will Levis play, which we'll get to in a little bit, having like that rookie quarterback who's showing a little bit of promise. You'd probably want a young guy like AJ Brown, right? AJ Brown's still young. He did get a big contract, but man, he's not. I don't see him slowing down one bit. And it really, he's only 26, man. It made me so happy that the Titans traded him away.
Okay, so I have Traylon Burks stats pulled up. Are you ready?
Let me hear it.
6 receptions for 99 yards
That's on the entire season.
on the entire season, and one of those catches was a 70-yard catch against the Chargers. So yeah, not ideal if you're a Titans fan. It looks like he's been injured too, but still
Regardless,
not
it's
ideal.
just,
He has less than
well,
20 targets on the season. Hey, he has a rush for 9 yards.
So, like I said, two totally different guys who are putting up two totally different kind of campaigns. You have the choice to start your franchise. Are you going with Tyreek or AJ Brown?
Um, if we're talking about a single season, I would go Tyreek. If it's long term, I'm going AJ Brown.
Fair. I think if it was beginning of the season, could have any either or. Obviously, right, the age probably plays a factor into it, but man, just watching Tyreek Hill play, he makes it look so effortless. It's just so fun to watch.
And he's like, he runs weird. I can't
I was
describe
looking
it.
at it. I was wondering, he almost has that Kyler Murray type run, but it's something to do with the shoulder pads too. He's got the long sleeves. Looks a little funny. Looks a little old school. But man, he gets it done.
He really fucking flies around, and like the just the fact that he's like better now than he was in Kansas City is insane. Um, and
Yeah, no one saw that coming.
I yeah, I think we all knew that Tyreek Hill was going to be fast as shit and it was going to be incredible. But, especially after last year and Tua not being 100%, there were definitely questions. And I,
He still produced.
he
He
still
still
produced,
produced.
man. He still produced, and he has somehow stepped it up another level this year, which I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't really articulate I can't really articulate how insane that makes me feel,
Do
but
you do you think he'll get to 2000?
barring injury, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think I think it would be yeah, yeah.
He's
It,
on a
as
crazy pace. He just crossed 1,000 and exactly halfway through the season. He's gonna have to keep it up. But
three people need to stay healthy for this to happen. Tyreek, Tua, and Jalen Waddle. If those three stay healthy, he will do it. Um yeah, that's
yeah,
that's that's my take,
never thought
guys.
I'd see that.
It's really insane. And I think with the week being added on, it kind of with the week being added onto the schedule, and okay, so now you have an extra game. um I think I thought these records would certainly be broken sooner, but to be doing it how he's doing it, I don't know, it's just crazy to me.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. I know some people were already saying if he breaks the record, there's that extra game. Doesn't matter. That doesn't mean shit to me. If he gets 2,000 receiving yards in a season, dude, that's just
Yeah, no,
phenomenal.
that's just
It's
insane.
ridiculous.
Come on now. Real quick, going through the Dolphins schedule, just so you can hear the secondaries they have to face. Next week in Germany against Kansas City. I don't know, you know, international game, how much you put on that. But then they have their bye, home against the Raiders, at the Jets. Okay, the Jets have a very good secondary. At the Commanders, meh. Titans, Jets, very good. Cowboys, not as good without Diggs. Baltimore, okay, good. And Bills, their defense has been dealing with shit all season. So I think it can certainly be done. They
As
finish
long as he stays healthy, like you said.
from week 14 to their finish, they have one away game. I'm also just gonna put that out there. Which is really crazy that you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games to end the season, and 4 of them are at home. So I think that bodes
Yeah.
pretty well in terms of the direction of this record. Anything else on AJ Brown or Tyreek before we get out of here? Any hot takes?
I think no. I think they're like I said, they're top two. The next closest receiver behind them is Puka Nakua, who's putting up crazy numbers too.
Mm-hmm. Good old
but
Puka.
I think those two will finish the season as top two.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's just I think the Rams situation is a lot less sustainable as we saw yesterday. And we can get into that after we take a break. Just talking about Cowboys and just their feasting upon the Rams. But yeah, so just insane fucking start to the season for both of these guys, doing it in two different ways, which is really cool to see, especially on, in the season where it's kind of been a downtick. Yeah, it's been a joy to watch, especially because neither of these teams face my team. So I never have to see them shred the Saints, at least not right now.
Maybe playoffs.
Maybe playoffs. Saints have got to do a lot of work before that happens, but yeah. We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back. And we're back. So, moving on, talking about teams that won this week, sort of the rich got richer. I think this week, we didn't see a ton of upsets outside of Kansas City losing to the Broncos. And in terms of like the best teams in football, you had teams like the Ravens winning, the Bengals beat the 49ers. I don't know how much of like upset you want to do
What
about
you think
that.
about either team?
Jaguars won, Eagles won, just the good teams, Dolphins won, the good teams in the NFL won this week. So I want to start at the Cowboys just because oh wow, real quick.
Breaking news.
Not breaking, but the Cardinals just benched Dobbs.
Bench Dobbs. I did see that. Once we talk
That's
about the Ravens, I was gonna bring that up.
That's so funny. Okay, so I was gonna start with the Cowboys, but yeah, let's start with the Ravens. They they beat a team that they should have beat in the Cardinals. I think it was maybe a little bit closer than people thought, but it's still fun game. 27 points between the two of them in the fourth quarter. Did you get to watch any of this game?
I watched a little bit of the beginning of the game, and
Mhm.
I was super surprised when I came back to actually see that the Cardinals made it somewhat close. I think I mentioned of course, I was playing against Gus Edwards, and the only fantasy league that I have that's close, the guy had Gus Edwards. So I was monitoring it for that alone. But yeah, a pretty entertaining game actually.
Yeah. And I really enjoyed it because I didn't get to watch a ton of it, but the parts I did see, it was just this Ravens team just being very what felt efficient. And doing what they had to do, and it didn't seem that they were able to move the ball all that well against the Cardinals, which is kind of interesting because it's the Cardinals. But Baltimore got outgained, and it was pretty much even time of possession. So that was interesting to see that that the Cardinals were. I don't want to say they like pushed them around in that sense, but it was cool that
Yeah,
it was cool that they were able to push the Ravens a little bit.
which is
But
surprising. I mean,
Ravens did what they had to do, and yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much to say about this game. Very happy that the Ravens can win without relying on Lamar all that much. He only had 150 yards, and I think like not a ton on the
17,
ground.
17 on the ground. Does
Yeah,
that concern you at all? Lamar's not running as much this year. The team's obviously 6-2, with
no.
their only loss coming in overtime to Indianapolis. That doesn't concern you. It doesn't concern me either because they are 6-2, but interesting that he's using his legs much less. Right.
I
He's only
think
had
that's just
one game
I think
over
that's
100.
just Lamar growing as a quarterback. Now, what I will say is, while I'm not concerned about the Ravens and Lamar's health, what does concern me is their schedule. Their schedule is terrifying going forward. I I'm just gonna start. Seahawks, Browns, Bengals, Chargers, bye, Rams, Jaguars, 49ers, Dolphins, Steelers. Holy shit. That is a gauntlet. So that scares me. And I know they're in first place right now, but I just think that division will beat the shit out of each other. As of now, last place is 4-3, and that's just because all of the second place teams are 4-3.
Jeez.
So I think that terrifies me. And if you're a Ravens fan, I think that should terrify you. Anything else on this game?
No, it's sad to see Joshua Dobbs get benched because of the game because his performance wasn't all that bad considering how bad the Cardinals are. But no,
Yeah. No, agreed. And Cardinals, you know, good job, little buddy. Okay, moving on to the Cowboys. They kind of had a game that I feel like I've seen multiple times this season where their defense just takes a bat to the game, and then suddenly it's chaos, and they are just winning by what feels like an insurmountable lead because their defense is playing really well. And, you know, at the end of the first quarter, it's 17-3 and this, that, and the third. And then halftime comes and you're losing even worse. And I don't know. I think that, yes, Matt Stafford got hurt when there seemed to be a little bit of energy in this Rams team, but I don't have a ton to say. Cowboys played a good game of football. I didn't watch this game too much. I watched the highlights. So I can't speak to like individual performances too much. Dak played well, it looks like, by the numbers. CeeDee Lamb exploded, which was scary for me because I went against the guy who doesn't set his lineup in fantasy, and he had Josh Allen and CeeDee Lamb. And if I did not score 170 points in fantasy, I would have lost this week, and that would have been really embarrassing. But your thoughts on this game?
I think, with the Cowboys, this is kind of the impressive win I've kind of been looking for with them. They've only lost twice, but their two losses were bad. Really bad loss to San Fran, and a really bad loss to Arizona, considering
Cards, yeah.
But no, this is Dak's first game all season where he's thrown for more than 300 yards.
Is it really?
And it is.
Wow.
His highest game previous to this was last week against the Chargers, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, because they were on a bye, where he's threw 272. He's only thrown over 250 yards. This is only the third time he's done it all year. So he has not really had to air it out like he had to, and this is only the second time this season where he's thrown multiple touchdowns in a game. CD, he's still putting up pretty good performances. I think he could be. He had 12 receptions in this game. That's kind of what they need to do. Just feed him the ball. I know they have Brandon Cooks. They have some other weapons around him.
But CD's the guy. Come on now.
He's the guy. So this is kind of what it was impressive the way that they won. It was kind of what I was expecting. Still have not seen the explosion that I was kind of expecting from Tony Pollard going into the year. But like you mentioned, Matt Stafford got hurt towards the end of the game. It was a blowout from the get-go. Right, they scored in all three facets: offense, defense, special teams. Impressive.
Yeah. And again, not too much to say about it. Just good win by the boys, and I'm just good stuff, guys. Another winner of the week, Eagles. Just an interesting. There's an interesting. I don't want to say rivalry going on, but the Eagles have, they have trouble matching up against this Washington team, and I know they won't play them again this season. So you have passed your test, Eagles. But yeah, interesting game. As somebody who has Sam Howell on his fantasy team, I paid attention to this pretty heavily. And as somebody with DeAndre Swift and AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, definitely paid attention to this very closely. Just every time it felt like the Eagles were, gonna shut the game out and shut the door and it just felt like the Commanders had answers. If I'm an Eagles fan, I'm a little worried. You got 472 yards put on your dome. Yeah, I don't know. Not a ton else to say. Fun to see the tush push fail. I think that bodes well for the future of it, just to be like, hey, look, guys, it's not game breaking, haha. And then they
But
pulled
we
out.
also had the fake.
Oh, the tush push counter was, oh my god, that was art in my opinion. But yeah, I thought this was a really fun game. Solid win, just to beat a team that definitely gives you trouble. Concerning if I'm an Eagles fan for your defense and maybe for your rushing attack, because rushing attack didn't look amazing. Yeah, any takes?
No, that's the thing. Even when the rushing attack didn't look great, right? DeAndre Swift only averaged 3.6 on the ground. They were able to air it out, which is that's what this team should do. They should be able to find a way to kind of navigate however. Right, so 300 in the air, 4 touchdowns from Jalen. They got Julio in the end zone. Good win. Anytime you could beat a close division game, I think gives a lot of confidence for a team.
Yeah, completely agree. Moving on to a game I actually did not watch, and I only watched the highlights of. The Jaguars of Jacksonville beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't have much to say about it because, again, I did not watch it, but it looked like T-Law played well. And I know that Pickett got hurt, so, we were dealing with Mitch Trubisky, which will tie into something we do a little bit later. But, yeah, I don't know. I think unfortunate that, you had to deal with Biscuit. And this game was 9-3 at halftime. So
yeah. This was another game that
who
the
knows how it
refs
could have gone.
interjected themselves.
Oh yeah, I'm not aware of what happened.
There was a couple rough calls. I think Chris Boswell even came out and there was on a field goal where Jacksonville was or Pittsburgh was called offsides when Jacksonville clearly lined up. They called it on the wrong team. Just a couple things here and there again, but another game where you have players this time coming out and making comments, which is just anytime that happens, becomes more of a public thing. It's just gonna call into question everything we're talking about almost every single week now. Nothing as egregious as last week, I don't think, but regardless, the questions and the comments are there.
Yeah, it's again they took all the best referees and they put them on TV. And
but Jacksonville's on a win streak, so regardless of how they won, they started off the season pretty poor, but they're really, really hitting their stride and looking like the team we saw at the end of last year.
Yeah, no, I hope to see some good stuff from the Jags because, you want to see Trevor Lawrence do well. You want to see Doug Peterson do well. Steelers moving to 4-3. We'll see how Pickett is. I wouldn't be too excited about your chances going forward. Seems like you're hurtling towards, a solid 10-9 season. Or what is it? What would it be?
10-7.
10-7. Sorry. Then I'm gonna say 9-8. Yeah. That I have no other comments on that. Steelers. We'll see how you do. So we've covered a bunch of the winning teams. I think to talk about the Dolphins would be just a little bit of rehashing what we kind of talked about in our open, just about the quarterbacks. Great to see the Seahawks get a win. I'm really happy for Geno Smith. I think it's really cool. And he has a sort of bad play against the Browns and just kind of like sleepwalking through that second half. And then when they need a drive, he gives it to them. Just fully orchestrates, leads them down the field against a very good defense. And yeah, not too much to say, but shout out Geno Smith.
Shout out to the Seahawks.
Yeah, shout out to
First
the
place.
Seahawks. Just really, really cool. And a division that I don't know if a lot of people saw you winning.
Well, I mean, ask anybody 3 weeks ago, the 49ers are the best team in the NFL. And now
Yeah,
the Seahawks are in first place in that division. That's
yeah.
awesome.
Real quick on the Niners, lost 3 in a row. Lost to the Bengals, who are seemingly on fire. Are you worried for the Niners?
I am not as worried as everybody else.
Okay.
I've been saying it for weeks. People are now finally coming for Brock Purdy even more than they have been. He's been without Debo for a couple weeks. I don't think he said he was 100% healthy. It didn't seem like it to me, but
No Trent Williams
it's
either, which I think is
no
the
Trent
biggest
Williams
loss,
is exactly.
especially against like
So
Trey Hendrickson.
yeah, so I'm not as worried, but give it a couple more weeks. If they struggle again in the next 2 weeks, then yes, you got to be very worried.
Cool to
With
see
how much is invested.
Cool to see Cincinnati be able to run the ball for the first time in like 3 seasons.
The very first week I got Mixon started and
Ooh,
via trade, so
there you
shout
go.
out.
There you go. Before we take a break, you got anything else before you want to say before we go?
We'll probably touch on it a little bit, but one more team that's getting rich. Well, yeah, I'll use that word lightly because we'll touch on it in a bit. Minnesota Vikings on a 3-game win streak. Pretty
Shout out
impressive.
the Vikings. Yeah, we will definitely be talking about the Vikings. I would just like to say that I watched probably 90% of that Jets Giants game, and I don't know if I've ever had more fun just as like a neutral fan watching a football game that was that bad. Just a genuine joy to see some of the incompetence on all levels from both sides. Yeah, so keep it up, guys. That was like I swear to God, that was like watching TV football. Yeah. Anyway, we're going to take a break and we will be right back. 2 seconds. And we're back. Unfortunately, this weekend, you'd mentioned the Vikings. It seems that Kirk Cousins is, well, not seems, but it's been confirmed that Kirk Cousins he tore his Achilles, which sort of similar to the Aaron Rodgers one. There was a physical, I'll say, twang on their calf when when the injury occurred, and they're both non-contact. Really disappointing.
Word choice.
Really disappointing if you're a Vikings fan. I think really disappointing. You'd won 3 in a row, and that game was pretty much over. So I am going to reserve any judgments, good or bad, on Jaron Hall, the guy who came in as Kirk's backup. He's a rookie. He is 3 of 4, but game is over. And the Packers are also bad, which I didn't see coming. So
Not on Jordan Love though.
I can't speak to that. I can't speak to that. I can't speak to that. So, it just kind of makes me think about, moves the Vikings should maybe make. And yeah, what do you think about this Vikings team? Should they be buyers or sellers?
So I'm actually a big fan of Jaron Hall. He was
Okay.
one of my favorite mid-round quarterbacks, but team is not very good. Okay. I don't think they're in a position where they can get by with a mid-round quarterback right now for the rest of the season. They're on a 3-game win streak. 2 weeks ago, they would have been sellers at the trade deadline coming up, but now with the way that their season's unfolding, if anything happens if somehow Detroit loses tonight, they're gonna have to make a move. And it seems like I believe I read reports that they're not planning on making a move for a quarterback. But I mean, you got to capitalize, right? Unless you look at it and you count this as a loss. That they're a 4-3 team, so they're not dead. They're not dead, and they're in a winnable division. But you don't have your starting quarterback right now, so
it's rough. Yeah,
it is a very difficult situation to be in.
And yeah, and there are definitely pieces that can be moved on this team. And you're kind of like, well, Kirk is in the last year of his contract, and we could rebuild, pack it in, blah blah blah. Because I feel like they had sort of already, they were realistic about last year. It felt like, because this offseason, it didn't feel like they made moves that were indicative of like, wow, we can win a Super Bowl right now. And you'd think like, oh, 13-4 record last year, like, hey, maybe you want to, usually if you do that, you're pretty close to a Super Bowl, but they did not feel that. So it'll be interesting to see which direction they take. Yeah, I think I think they should be buyers. And I'm gonna unleash something upon you here. I
Okay.
texted for those at home. I texted AJ about this take, and I've been sitting on it for this entire recording, and I can't wait. I think the Vikings should trade for Kyler Murray.
That doesn't surprise me. I
Just
was thinking that too. I was thinking that
right? It
before any
makes
of this.
sense. It
Yeah,
makes
before Kirk even
sense.
got hurt, I saw some people suggesting they get rid of Kirk, maybe to New York, and then they trade for Kyler. That'd be a phenomenal that'd be a phenomenal fit, in my opinion. But the Cardinals did just come out and say that they're not going to trade away Kyler.
Yeah,
But
okay.
you never believe
But
any
they
of that
won't
shit,
play
though.
him.
Yeah, you can never believe any of that stuff. That'd be a
Exactly.
great fit, and I mean, realistically, what do you think you have to even give up to get Kyler?
I think you'd probably have to give up like a first and a second. I mean,
A lot.
I mean, it's a quarterback, I was thinking about the Matthew Stafford trade. I was like,
No, that I'm
okay,
saying I agree with you. It could even be more than that.
it wouldn't surprise me
It's a
if it was
young
two first
quarterback.
round picks. Um,
They could package somebody like Daniil Hunter, who's I don't know if you'd want to. He's so good this year. He's always good when he's healthy, but that's the kind of move. That's what I'm saying. They really got to decide if they're going to be all in on the rest of the season in the future, or if they're just going to
it
figure it out, see how they do the rest of the season, and get one of these rookies.
it is incredibly fun to think about Kyler Murray and Justin Jefferson on the same team.
And Jordan Addison too.
And
He's
Jordan
balling out.
Addison, new star wide receiver of the Vikings. They're just a wide receiver factory at this point. Stephon Diggs and Justin for Stephon Diggs trade the trade that you trade him away for. You got the pick for Justin Jefferson. Awesome. You just suddenly draft a new guy when you lose Adam Thielen. Awesome. Like,
Yeah,
jeez,
they know what they're doing.
Rick Spielman, man. What are we doing, man?
It would be interesting. A couple other realistic quarterback targets that I think they could go after.
Yeah.
I'll throw out two. I saw one of them was on your list. Jacoby Brissett, in my
Mm.
opinion, always been one of the best backup quarterbacks. If he has to start from week 1 to the end of the season, team's probably not going to be amazing. But if he has to come in and kind of finish out, we saw it last year. He was he was better than Deshaun last year. The year before, when he was in Miami, he was better than Tua.
Yeah. Straight
So
up.
even when he was in Indy, when he initially came, I mean, it was a mixed bag. They brought in Uncle Phil for a reason, but I think Jacoby was very serviceable. I think he could kind of keep this team afloat. I don't think he's going to go out and win you too much. Another option, especially after this week, I and it's and I think it could work, would be Ryan Tannehill.
I was gonna say
I
Tannehill
don't
would be a good option.
I don't think you have to give up too much for him. I don't think he provides you much less than what Kirk. Don't get me wrong. I think Kirk is 10 times the quarterback that Ryan Tannehill is, but not as much of a drop off as you'd probably expect.
Yeah, for sure. I think just one last QB. I think that could be moved. I think Jameis, honestly, maybe he could maybe be traded, but yeah, we'll see, we'll see.
I
Just
wasn't
okay.
as bad.
So on the topic of Tennessee Titans quarterbacks, Will Levis, man, coming in rookie debut. tearing it up, throwing bombs to Nuke Hopkins. The Titans, you suddenly look at the standings and you're like, oh man, Titans are 4-3, or sorry, 3-4. Like, oh man, that's not nothing.
Yeah, he looked phenomenal.
Yeah, you looked good, and I know, it's that thing where there's no tape out on him, so tough to say, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I don't care. He looked awesome. Definitely up there with some of the best rookie debuts. Up there with like Luck and RG3, Cam. Well, maybe not Cam Newton, because Cam Newton was like the second coming of Jesus. But yeah,
We compared it. He threw a good amount. He had a couple of bombs. He utilized their best weapon. Probably looks like the first time that this happened. All season where D Hop's really been made a focal point. It was impressive. I was really really stoked to see. I mean, we got to think about it. There was potential that Will Levis was going to be a top 5 pick. He's
yeah,
not some nobody.
yeah.
And with how disappointing Malik Willis has been the last couple seasons, I think Titans fans should probably be very very stoked.
And
Will Levis just
honestly,
doubled Ryan Tannehill's total touchdowns all year in one game, his first game ever.
that's hilarious. And honestly, favorable schedule, man. Favorable schedule. At Steelers, at Bucks, at Jaguars. Okay, a little bit tough, but home Panthers, home Colts. Those are two frisky teams, but if you're on a roll, you'd think, okay, maybe or at Dolphins. Okay, that's going to be tough. But then you go home Texans, home Seahawks, at Texans, at Jacksonville. I'm not saying all these teams are, dirt, but I think there's certainly potential here for a run.
I would, as somebody who hates the Titans, I would like to see it.
Word. I respect that. Yeah, it's cool to see a good quarterback. We talked about it last week that it just feels like quarterback play is down, and as I've reflected upon our conversation about that, I think it's really down to the quarterbacks. We don't quite have the new age of quarterbacks in yet, and if you think about it, this is and you can. I'm sorry if I trigger you here, but like, this is where like Andrew Luck was supposed to be like getting his buckets. This is when he was supposed to be the best quarterback in the league.
Yes.
He and RG3 too. Like, if he had stayed healthy, what could have been? I think there's just like
Brandon Weeden.
Oh, all right now. But I think there is a bit of a deficiency at like high end quarterback play. Because, right now, in terms of like peak quarterbacks, it's like Mahomes, Allen, you throw Lamar in there. Help me out. Any like
Jalen Hurts,
Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow. These are
Justin
guys that still have questions. Like it or not, there's still questions about these guys. Whereas 10 years ago, you had Brady, you had Manning just tearing it up in Denver. You had Breeze. There was like a top 5 that like wasn't rotating every season. And it feels like for the past 3 to 5 seasons, it's just been nonstop quarterback rotation in the top 5, with the exception of maybe Patrick Mahomes. Do you agree?
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Teams you think will buy at the trade deadline? Who you got?
So, again, it's going to be interesting to see what Minnesota does. One team that I think really should be buyers, and they've already made a move, it would be the Atlanta Falcons. Right? They're not a bad team. Their division isn't crazy. They need pass rush. I think there have been rumors that they can make a move for either of the Commanders duo. Montez Sweat or Chase Young. They just lost Grady Jarrett. They just traded for a defensive tackle from the Eagles, just a late round swap. They're already making a little bit of moves. We saw they just benched their quarterback. They got such a good young nucleus. I can see them making a move. I don't know if it'll be any crazy moves, but I can see them making a few moves because that team is just so inconsistent. That could be one team that I can see. I hope are going to be movers.
Yeah, no, I as a Falcons hater, I hope they don't get better, or I hope they trade for somebody who busts. But it is cool to see players like Bijan Robinson, have some life for the Falcons. I think the Chiefs need to go out, and I think they need to make a big like star player acquisition in terms of pass catcher. We didn't talk about it, but the Broncos beating the Chiefs was just very ugly. And it just felt like Mahomes was running around for hours and hours and hours back there, and Kelsey was covered, and he just didn't have anyone else to throw it to. I know Andy Reid said that he took. I know he said he took some blame because he felt he was too cute, whatever, blah blah blah. But I do think there is severe deficiency. There's a severe deficiency with the wide receiver group of the Chiefs. They already traded for Mecole Hardman.
Got rid of Tyreek Hill.
They traded for Mecole Hardman, who just really just threw up all over himself in this game against the Broncos. I think if the Vikings, if you see the Vikings do make a couple moves, I why not call about Justin Jefferson? Just do it. Just come on. Just do it. Just do it. Just do it. Just to play. Just to play some.
The only reason.
Just to play some Madden in real life. Like, come on. Just come on. For Patrick Mahomes.
The only reason that would happen is because they know he's not going to re-sign.
Yeah.
And I could see that being a possibility. I really could.
I'm just playing Madden. Do I think this will actually happen? Hell no. But it would be really fun. I think the Jets might be buyers. I could see them, you'd mentioned Ryan Tannehill earlier. I also threw out Jacoby Brissett, and hey, I know Zach Wilson made the throws when he had to, but man, it'd be really nice to not have him have to do that. What do you think as the Jets as buyers?
I think if they were going to make a move, they probably already would have.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, they might just be holding out and stringing along a couple wins in hopes that Aaron Rodgers actually does come back.
He was throwing, man. He was throwing on the field. It's crazy.
I don't know how it's going to happen. One team who I think everybody thought was going to sell the farm, but after this week comes a little bit tougher, is going to be the Denver Broncos.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Do they trade? I mean, Jerry Jeudy finally popped off. Do they want to trade any of those guys? Right, supposedly everybody was for sale, but if they actually start putting together some decent performances, maybe not.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. It's an interesting bend, because you're like, oh God, like, now can we trade anyone, right? Without the whole fan base rioting, because you've done something now that you haven't done since Peyton Manning left, which is beat the Chiefs, and you're like, okay, is this momentum? Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. A couple teams won this week. Remember, maybe they shouldn't have. That's gonna make them question it all season, or at least now, and then the rest of the season, if they should have done something or not.
Before we get out of here, I mentioned this to you that I wanted to do this before we leave. Yesterday, can you give me your bottom 5 or bottom 3 people who threw a pass yesterday?
Yeah, so this is unfair because these are a couple people who just got thrown in who shouldn't have played. Bottom tier, the very at the last of my list. Shittiest thrower, Mitchell Trubisky. He had a chance. He's had multiple chances to come in and like maybe see if he could be the guy again. Turn the ball over 2 times. Offense just did not do anything. Granted, Jacksonville's a good team, but he just looked like shit. Another guy who came in did not look great was Tommy DeVito for New York Giants.
Tommy
He had negative
DeVito
one
looked
passing
like
yards.
Tommy DeVito looked like a freaking. He looked like he was a
Danny
fetus
DeVito.
out there.
He looked like Danny DeVito trying to play.
They would have been better. It felt like with a freaking mannequin at quarterback, just giving all the freaking plays to Saquon.
Yeah, he did run one in, okay, but he was 2 for 7, -1 passing yards. He just that offense looked like shit. They had 7 total passing yards, which is insane. But I still thought Mitch looked worse. And then Brett Ripien came in. I have no idea what's going on with Stetson Bennett. I don't think anybody's gotten any confirmation. He only completed 50% of his yards, or of his passes, for 42 yards. Game was pretty much all out of reach at that point when he came in for Matt Stafford, but no bueno.
I have 3 selections for you. I end with an honorable mention. My first mention, Zach Wilson. Just oh my god, it looks so bad when it's bad, and he's missing checkdowns. And if I was a Jets fan, I would want to gouge my eyes out like I was Oedipus. Second would be Mac Jones. I had my eye on this game just because I like watching the Dolphins. I like their offense. And man, it is so over. Mac Jones, it would shock me if he's on this football team next season. I know his numbers, just efficiency-wise, were fine, but oh my God, it might be it's Jover. And I'm gonna throw Desmond Ridder up here. Just not great, Heineke had to come in.
And that offense looks so much better.
Yeah, exactly. And I know Ridder got sacked 5 times and Heineke only got sacked once, but that offense just looks so much better, and there's just a ball control option that's just there. My honorable mention goes to Jonnu Smith, the number 2 tight end for the Falcons, who at one point threw a pass to the number 3 tight end with the number 1 tight end blocking. And if we don't remember, they spent a top 5 pick on that tight end that was blocking. Arthur Smith, ladies and gentlemen. You got anything else? We're cutting out of here. You got anything else?
No, I just thinking back on tank for Marvin Harrison Jr. season.
Marvin Harrison Jr., who week by week just looks awesome. Yeah, you did have a rough week. I was thinking about you.
I had a rough day yesterday too, man. The Spurs lost by like close to 30. Man, it was such a bad day.
Yeah, but Wembio.
Yesterday.
Anyway, thank you all for listening. Appreciate you for tuning in, making time. Make sure you are liking, subscribing, following. Check us out on Instagram. Check us out on Twitter. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple, Breaker, Anchor, Google Podcasts. We are all over the place. Be sure to check us out. Everywhere. Next week's episode will come out on Wednesday, as I'm doing a little bit of traveling and won't be back on Monday. So keep your eyes out for that. AJ, your pick for Monday night?
Detroit needs to win here. They really need to bounce back from last week.
Do you
take anybody super close on the tails, but I'm going to take them money line.
Nice. It's Detroit -7. I would take Detroit -100 tonight. I think the Raiders are really, really bad. Put your money on Josh McDaniels. Put your money against Josh McDaniels while you can. He will be fired probably within the year. Yeah. Thanks, AJ. Appreciate you for pulling up. and doing the pod. Know you're busy, but yeah, appreciate you, man.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, man. Peace out, y'all. Thanks for listening.
Peace.
Peace.